Make sure you download the Woodward Sports app in the App Store and the Google Play Store today. Take Woodward Sports with you wherever you go and listen live on your phone or mobile device.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Morning Woodward Show here on the Woodward Sports Network. Jeff Iafrate, Adham, Beydoun, as always, joined by a special guest in the sound booth this morning for the first time here on the morning show.
The legend
Flannel
killer.
Sam. Good morning, buddy. How you doing?
I'm good. I'd be doing a lot better if it were one of the last 3 Mondays, but you know what? It's all good. It's a good...
It is a disappointing Monday.
Yes.
Not the Monday I think everybody wanted. We'll get into that in a little bit. Westfall, good morning. Merry Christmas to all of you that celebrated, obviously, yesterday. Happy holidays to you and your families. From everybody here at Woodward Sports, we just want to say thank you as always. 37-23.
It was an ass whooping.
And you know,
That's what it was.
I really sat on this. And I had 2 days. You usually only get Sunday night into the Monday morning. You get a few hours before the show. You get prepping. All right, what's the talk about? 2 days to sit on this. And I don't feel any better. And I had one question going into that game. One. And all of you were so optimistic. Rightfully so. I don't blame any of you. Was it 1-6 or 6-1? Which team was it? That's all I asked. Because I didn't know the answer. Because you showed me 1-6, you showed me 6-1. I'd like to believe you're 6-1. I'd like to believe you're better than the 1-6 record, which we actually discussed earlier in the year. And that you had 3 games remaining, that you would be favored in 2 of the last 3. Could you go out and prove that that record was a fair indication of your team and where you're going? And they got dominated at the line of scrimmage, offensively, defensively. The corners looked shocked. It was... I walked away Saturday with more questions than answers. I was hoping I'd get more answers. Unfortunately, I did not. And yeah, look, what do you want me to tell you, huh? What do you want me to tell you? Tell you the season's over, your team sucks. It's not going to happen today.
No.
Your team somehow, some way won 6 or 7 games. That's impressive. They put themselves in the playoff hunt. I think that's something that should be acknowledged, given how pathetic they were at the start of the year. But to lose that game, the way you did, to me, bothers me more than losing. Losing happens in the NFL. Happens every week. It's no problem. But to get dominated at the line of scrimmage, which is your game, on both sides of the ball?
Yeah.
Oh, please. It was an embarrassing performance. I don't want to hear, oh, the players just weren't ready. You know, we didn't have the players ready to play. That is the most overused, cliche bullshit term by a coach, and I can't stand it. Oh, we weren't ready to play. I didn't have them ready. How the fuck does that work? How? You're not ready to play. I will never understand that. But anyways, I hate when coaches use it. Around the NFL drives me nuts. Didn't have the players ready to play today. What the fuck does that even mean? Wake up, you dickhead. Jesus Christ. Anyways, I walked away with more questions. And I really thought this was a game that fell right into the Lions' lap. A team that is one-dimensional. They can only run the football. They really can't beat you in the air. And if you get up early, you're going to force them to play a game they don't want to play. Excuse me. Mm-hmm. And what happened? Carolina comes out, boom, swinging, 7-0. But you answer, and then you have an opportunity to take the lead and put the game and put Carolina in a position they don't want to be in, playing from behind. And what do? You fumble, 1st and goal. Can't happen. Unacceptable. And the game unravels from there. And you want to blame a fumble. You want to blame Jared Goff. You want to blame Dan Campbell. I don't care who you want to blame this morning. It was a pathetic performance. And it was disappointing. I'm not going to be mad. I'm just very disappointed. Because I'm trying so hard to just jump on board and really believe. And at 1-6, you made it very difficult. And through 6 of the last 7, it was very easy. But reality sets in after those 2 7-game stints, and you're like asking questions. All right, which one is real? Boys? I don't know.
No.
Jeff, I'm disappointed, man. That was not the game I expected. Jeff Okudah got benched. Mike Hughes came in.
Right.
We'll get to Okudah later on in the show, but Jeff, your takeaways.
Well, they got a taste of their own medicine. They got dominated at the line of scrimmage. And Carolina built very similar in what they want to do with their run game and their defensive, their front seven. The Lions absolutely got dominated. And we talk about this defense. And the Achilles heel or the strength of this defense over winning 6 of the last 7 games before this Carolina game was what they did on the ground, against the run. Against the Jets, they gave up 50 yards. Against Minnesota, it was 22. Jacksonville, you gave up 95, but you dominated for the entirety of the game. You gave up over 300 yards rushing against the Panthers. They gave up 245 yards in the first half on the ground. That's the record for the most rushing yards in a single game since 1950. It was 423 by the Giants, by the way, and they almost came close. So the Lions, I mean, that was an embarrassing performance. It doesn't help people that were just starting to believe in this team. My feelings on it doesn't take away from what they've done this season. The bigger thing you got to look at is they started 1-6. They had a tough ask. You had to win basically 9 of 10 to win out and make the playoffs. But that performance was inexcusable. That was disgusting. And the fumble you brought up, I believe, was a big reason. It completely, you got, the momentum was drained at that point. I mean, they gashed you on the first drive, and then you fumbled to go up a score. Carolina goes down, scores again. That was a 14-point swing at that point. So those things can't happen. And 2 things they allowed to happen is 2 things. Carolina won the turnover battle. They dominated time of possession, and they never had to play from behind. And
that's what the Lions have been doing for 7 weeks.
Bingo. They got beat at their own game, and we know how bad the secondary is. I was not surprised. The secondary was absolutely atrocious. But what I was shocked about was how bad the front seven were and how good they've been against the run. They didn't have Deshaun Elliott, but my goodness, they got pushed around, and players were in position to make plays. They just couldn't make them. Jeff Okudah had a couple times where he could have made a play at the line of scrimmage. He missed the tackle. He gave up a big play to DJ Moore. It was the worst, one of the worst defensive performances all year. You could argue it was the worst. And when your offense plays like that, and they don't really have momentum, they couldn't run the ball at all. The offensive line got dominated. Brian Burns had 2 sacks. They got dominated at the line of scrimmage, Adam, and that's been a big reason why they've been able to win games. So they flipped the script on the Lions.
Guess how many missed tackles they had?
Oh, I can't imagine.
13.
Yeah.
And I know the field conditions were cement, apparently, but it didn't seem to bother the Carolina Panthers. So take that for what it's worth. Flannel, disappointing is the word this morning because there were expectations.
Absolutely.
There was... Everything that you needed to happen happened. Every team that you wanted to lose lost. And you went out and looked like the team that was 1-6 to start the year.
Absolutely. I mean, coming into this game, I told myself that no matter what happened in the Panthers game, that I was going to be happy with the Lions' progress. They're a 7-win team after last year being a 3-win team. You've seen improvements from the coaching staff. You've seen guys like Penei Sewell and Amon-Ra St. Brown take a step up from being good rookies to stars. You see guys like Aiden Hutchinson, James Houston, Malcolm Rodriguez, Kirby Joseph be rookie hits. Just great picks. This team is obviously a team on the rise. But the one thing that could have happened to piss me off and make me disappointed did happen. The Lions gave up the franchise record for rushing yards in a game to the Carolina Panthers. And no, these aren't the Panthers with Cam Newton and Jonathan Stewart. These aren't the D'Angelo Williams Panthers. These aren't the Christian McCaffrey Panthers. They gave up 320 rushing yards to Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, Sam Darnold, and Raheem Blackshear. 320 yards. That Lions rush defense had more holes in it than Swiss cheese. And just another thing, if you're the Detroit Lions and you see Sam Darnold as the starting quarterback on the other team, just pack up and leave. For some reason, Sam Darnold quarterback teams just shell out the biggest beatdowns in Lions and for the Lions in the last 5 years. Just a terrible performance.
He's been the kryptonite, Sam Darnold, for whatever reason. But on top of that, too, this is what's even more crazy, is I thought we were past the allowing teams to set records. Panthers are the first team in over 7 years to have over 200 yards in the first half, rushing yards in the first half. So, again, it was bad. I mean, this was a terrible performance. And again, this is the downside with the young team, and I'm not blaming youth, but with the young defense, you see these performances or these flashes of greatness. You see the defensive front playing as well as it's played, but then you're going to have these games, and you never expect it to be this bad.
And again,
but
they're not a complete roster. So this, again, I don't want to go too far down the loss because I know they're young.
Right.
I know it's upcoming. I'm still very confident for 23. But boy, who's got a better roster, Carolina or Detroit? You answer. It's pretty obvious to me.
Well, the defense clearly is Carolina. Offense,
it's not even close.
If they had a quarterback, I mean,
overall, the roster's in favor of Detroit. You can say the same.
I would
this
give
week
the
about
offense
Chicago.
an advantage for Detroit, but defensively, it's no question. It's Carolina.
Defensively, it's just Brian Burns and J.C. Horn, and you still
Jeremy
threw
Chin, too.
all over the field. You were able to move the ball up and down the field. It was that one turnover that cost you. You went stale for a little bit, and then unfortunately, by the time you figured out how to play offense, the game was already over.
Yeah, I mean, the turnover kind of disrupted the flow of the game because it looked like after the Panthers had obviously went down and scored, the Lions answered. They got a stop. They got the ball first and goal at the 9, and then they had that bad exchange.
Right.
And speaking of Brian Burns, my goodness, he was the one guy on the Carolina Panthers, along with J.C. Horn, but more so Brian Burns, that you had to look out for because I thought going into the game that he was the best overall player on the field for both teams.
He made Taylor Decker look.
Dude,
Like
he was...
I'm pretty
Absolutely.
sure, if I'm not mistaken, when the Lions played the Panthers with PJ and they were shut out 22-0, I believe Burns had 2 sacks in that game against Decker too. Like he's always been, he's a problem. I mean, it is what it is.
You know what bothers me more than anything? Obviously, I'd like to be up here smoking a hookah right now, celebrating a win. Destiny in your hands. You can still make the playoffs. I mean,
right.
It's not done, but that was so disappointing. And for me, the worst part is you couldn't get up for that game. Carolina was the biggest game the most meaningful game you've played since what, 2016? And you couldn't get up for it? You couldn't put the playoff control, the destiny in your hands? Really? To go out and get bullied by a team that, yes, is technically playing for their division, but fired their coach earlier this year.
Right.
Traded a few players away. Traded away Christian McCaffrey. Are clearly in a rebuild. You lose to them? Wait, let me go back. You didn't lose. You got dominated. You got embarrassed. You got bullied by that team? That's disappointing.
You know what? In people bringing up SOL, the real test for me is how they respond this week against Chicago. And I get it, Chicago. But at the same time, people bring up, well, that was an SOL performance. How you define SOL is not one game. It's how they respond moving forward. If they come out this weekend against Chicago and put a beat down on the Bears, I think that does redeem them to some extent. But it does make the playoff implications a little more complicated now. You need some more dominoes to fall your way.
Well, here we go. You guys know what Mondays are about. The Mondays are about you. Phone lines are open. 313-552-6322. The question this morning is, have you lost confidence after this loss? Not only in the team, but in the season. Your hopes for the playoffs. Your thoughts on the game.
Right.
All that coming up 8:15 and 8:30. We will be talking to all of you. 8:45, Jeff Okudah was benched for Mike Hughes. And I didn't hear anything about it. And I do feel a certain kind of way about this. I don't like it at all. I don't. But we'll get to Jeff Okudah later on, top of the hour. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for Detroit. And I actually don't know how to explain it. It's very irritating this morning.
Right.
9:15, Jameson Williams? What the fuck? Hello?
He's frustrated.
You activated him.
Yeah.
To what? Run him as a dummy? What the fuck? You're giving up 37. Figure it out. Jameson Williams at 9:15. 9:30, we'll get to Dan Campbell, Steve Wilkes, that whole conversation. Then, of course, the Pistons play tonight. They'll probably lose. Who gives a fuck? We'll end the show like that. Let's take a break. When we get back, More disappointment and confidence coming up in just a bit. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Guardian Alarm.
Let me tell you about a defense you can respect and that you can rely on to show up in big games, and that's Guardian Alarm. Because right now is the perfect time to make sure you have peace of mind in home security from Guardian Alarm, the most trusted name in home and business security with 24/7 monitoring. You can have the peace of mind knowing you are being backed by the best. Call 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT. Tell them your friends at Woodward Sports sent you.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
It's a great day to get some Centron in your life. Okay. There it is. Centron, here we go. Gotta grab the cranberry. Oh wait, it's 2 for $4. Gotta double up with the classic as well. Centron World, baby. Centron, available at select Krogers, and if you wanna know how, go to @CentronWorld.com. You get dope like me. You know what? Why wait? Great taste, guaranteed.
You have an opinion? Make sure it's seen and heard. Corner, jumper, tweet us, hop on the YouTube chat, slide in the DMS at Woodward Sports on all social media.
All right, if you're looking to change your life and new year around, what are you waiting for? Look at Ryan Ermanni. Dude's covering 3 screens at the moment, but if you watch him now from 2 to 4, he's actually down 20 pounds. Ryan Ermanni and Dr. Jameson have done a phenomenal job. So happy for Ryan. So what are you waiting for? Change your life and do it in a safe and healthy way. 844-789-8446. Give Custom Health Centers a shot. We are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. And the question for all of you is, have you lost your confidence after the loss? And I would like to believe, before I go to all of you, I would like to believe that most of you will call in and say no, or that most of you will call in and justify at least this season, which I do think is okay. But Jeff, I want to start with you before we get to the people. Have you lost confidence in the direction? Again, I don't want to say have you lost all, because I do believe most people would say no, it's one game.
Right.
But you know the questions we asked going into the game. 1-6, 6-1. Which one is it? And that matters.
Right.
It can't always just be good. And I understand you're going to lose games, but you don't lose games like that.
In that fashion. Yeah, no, I haven't lost confidence. It's disappointing. I mean, there's no excuse for the performance they laid out on Saturday. But at the same time, it also doesn't take away from what they've done this season. I mean, winning 6 of 7, you see the performance they had against the Panthers. You start to question yourself, how in the hell did they win 6 out of 7? And at the same time, a lot of young players, that's why. Showing up, the defense, creating turnovers, what you did against the run. All that stuff went out the window. You didn't force a turnover. You gave up over 300 yards rushing. You allowed Sam Darnold to play comfortable and to play within his game. I mean, they had a game plan. They executed it. They wanted to run the football. They wanted to dominate the line of scrimmage, and they did that. They pushed the Lions around. Doesn't take away from the things they've done all season. Now, the 1-6 start to winning, 6-1, being 6-1, and now following an ugly loss to the Panthers. Moving forward, it's about beating the Bears, beating the Packers. That's what this means. I'm pretty much over the Carolina game. It's disgusting. They're going to address it. And the real question I have is, how does this team, a young team, respond for next week? That's what I'm paying attention to. I'm not going to sit here and dwell on the Panthers game. It's extremely disappointing. There's a lot of players that you expected to play well that did not play well. But at the same time, it doesn't all of a sudden mean I'm out. This regime's over. SOL's back. Everything they've done over the last 7 weeks is completely erased. We'll see how they respond. But it was a disgusting performance. But it doesn't make me lose confidence for what they're building. They still have assets coming up. They still have money. They still have draft capital, even though the Rams just completely obliterated the Broncos. Thank you, Russell Wilson, by the way. But at the same time, no. It doesn't make me lose confidence in this regime right now.
It shouldn't, right? I think that's fair. Look, you like me, you don't like me. You like Jeff, you don't like Jeff. I think it's irresponsible this morning to sit here and say all confidence is gone when the last 7 weeks has been very, very good.
Right.
But let's be real. You woke up Monday morning and you have a lot of questions, and I think that's okay. I think that's normal. You should have a lot of questions. That was embarrassing. No, I haven't lost confidence, especially because Brad Holmes and his ability. I know this roster is going to be one of the better NFC rosters in the next 2-3 years. I have no doubts about it. Now, whether or not Dan Campbell is the guy, whether it's I don't know. I don't have those answers. But games on like Saturday, when you win those games, it eliminates any doubt about where you're going and what you're capable of. To lose to Carolina, not just lose, get blown out. That opened a wound, I'm sure, with many Lions fans who are much, much, much older than me, which is fair. I don't think it's enough to lose confidence, but I do think it's enough to ask questions. And those questions are, which one is it? What are you? Are you 1-6 and you just can't get out of your own way? Or are you 6-1 and you're this inspiring, up-and-coming, young, energetic football team? Which one is it? And look, I think it's fair to say they were due for a clunker. Sure, if you think like that, that's a fair... I don't, but that's a fair thing to say. I get it. I get how the NFL works. Any given Sunday, but to me, Saturday wasn't any given Sunday.
I was just going to say that.
That was an ass kicking. That was, you actually weren't prepared, and then at halftime, you still didn't adjust. And coming out of the half, they still did the same shit, and they kept running it and running it and running it, and you couldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, no, that's the thing about this game, because on one hand, I'm very, very happy with that 6-1 stretch. The defense had played much, much better. I think they were only allowing less than 20 points a game. We saw lots of improvements. But I'm a bigger fan of the totality of a season than for a stretch. And when you look at the totality of what they've done this year, I would say it's a 1-6 defense and a 6-1 offense, because despite how well the defense had been playing, they are still last in the NFL in points allowed per game, and they are 5th in points scored per game. And as much as we kind of see this as an improvement and sort of more of a rebuild type season, this might go down as a missed opportunity for the Lions. Top 5 offenses don't just grow on trees. They don't come around every single year. And I don't want to see this team waste a top 5 offense and not make the playoffs, and it's looking like that might happen. Obviously, they did a lot in that 6-1 stretch to make the playoffs a possibility. They can still win their next 2 games and have a very, very good chance to get in, but to me, when you look at the totality of the season, the offense is great, the defense, it blows for the totality of the year, even though they just came off a good stretch.
Yeah, well, that's what bothers me, because the defense, though, to be fair, since week 9, had the most pressures in the NFL since week 9, had the lowest completion percentage allowed in the NFL since week 9. They were a top 5 defense for almost a 6-week stretch.
But at the same time...
So which one is it? Again,
and again, to Sam's point about the 1-6 defense, this is an historically bad defense as the season started. Now, they played really well against the run. Their front seven's been exceptional. But you're asking, and this is an excuse, it's just a reality, you're asking a bad defense to play as well as they've played for the last, 10 games of the season. You're not going to get it every game. Now, I didn't expect that. This was a different type of disappointing performance. This was absolutely disgusting. But at the same time, this was the same defense that we witnessed early in the year. So they're still void of talent. They just didn't show up to play, especially those guys up front. Did not at all. I mean, what they did against Saquon, Dalvin Cook, Aaron Jones, all of that went out the window against Foreman and against Hubbard. And not to mention, the Carolina Panthers had 10 penalties that game. They were getting in their own way on offense, and they still dominated you. Like, that just, it shows this defense did not show up at all. But again, the same point, this is a defense we witnessed be historically bad to the first 7 games. So am I shocked? Not really.
Again,
but they played so well lately, you expected them to keep playing that well, and they did not. They went backwards.
I have more questions now. That's the problem. Because for 7 weeks, you were one of the better defenses in the NFL. You were getting pressure. You were stopping the run. Over the last 3 weeks, prior to Saturday, you had the number 1 run defense for the last 3 weeks.
I kept bringing that up. Now I look like an idiot.
It's not that you look like an idiot. What are you?
Yeah.
Are you just a really... Again, I've never seen something like this.
Right.
A team that could play so well and also play so bad. It's beyond me. Kind of reminds me of the Miami Dolphins right now, even though they're a bit, ahead of where the Lions are. Miami, you can play so well at times and also so bad. What is it? I just don't get it. I really don't. This is a team that has been, again, very good on defense the last 7 weeks. You are allowed to have a bad game. That's no problem. But you are not allowed to have a bad game in December when the playoffs are on the line. I think that's more so the problem here.
Yeah, I mean...
If you have a clunker in Carolina in Week 9, all right.
Yeah.
Burn the film. We're not going to look at it. Well, I'll do the next one. All right, fine. You do that on a Saturday game
late in the
that would
season.
have propelled you to the number 6 seed had you won.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the run defense, this is such an extreme case of sort of bipolar that I don't even know if there's a precedent for it. In the previous 7 games, they played Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, and Aaron Jones, and held them to a combined, in those 3 games, 41 carries for 70 yards. Absolutely dominant. I mean, beyond dominant. Unbelievable. And in this game against the Panthers, the Panthers rushed for 43 times for 320 yards and 3 touchdowns. I've never seen a defense play so well against the run in, a 3-game sample size against some of the best running backs in the NFC, and then play a team that has Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, Raheem Blackshear, and Sam Darnold, with all due respect to them, and just completely... They gave up the Panthers' franchise record for rushing yards in a game. The defense had more holes in it than Swiss cheese, as I already said. Just a terrible, pathetic performance, and now the Lions, they don't really control their own destiny anymore. They had a golden opportunity to run the table, and now it's gone.
And the guys that you expected to step up against the run just didn't show up. I mean, Aleem McNeil, he made a play, but he was nowhere to be found. Benito Jones, nowhere to be found. Jeff
Literally,
Okudah,
the only thing he knows how to do is tackle.
I was going to say, as good as he is as a tackler, especially in the open field, he missed like 2 or 3 tackles at the line of scrimmage that broke off for about 20-yard runs to Foreman and Hubbard. So, and he gave up a big play to DJ Moore. You had Jerry Jacobs with the PI. Iffy filling in for Elliott. Iffy that was terrible. That was a terrible performance from him. And Kirby Joseph, not a good performance from him. So,
here's what we're going to do.
You have a bad secondary, and you have a good front 7 as of late against the run. Both didn't show up. That's what you get.
All right, well, look, we got a lot of people on the line, so we're going to go to them shortly. Let's take a quick break. When we get back, phone calls, we're taking them. Phone lines are open. All of you that are in, Kyle, I see you in the chat. We'll get to you in just a minute, but before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Big Boy.
Well, let me tell you about them, because wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy. You can try the classic meatloaf or Cajun chicken Alfredo, but how about the breakfast as well? The stuffed potato pancakes are back. The Lumberjack, Santa Fe Garden, or Blockbuster. Stop by your local Big Boy today.
I love Woodward Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
When it comes to making your haircut truly an experience, there's no better place than Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Come to any one of our 26 Metro Detroit locations for an award-winning haircut experience and qualify for a chance to win a down payment for your dream home up to $200,000. Our precision haircut and talented stylists will have you looking good, feeling good, and give you a chance to change your life forever. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Let me tell you about our friends at Chili Peppers Tanning, because you'll get all the best deals. Plus, they'll beat all competitors by $5. Chili Peppers Tanning has the hottest bulbs, the hottest deals, and the darkest tans. 26 locations and more on the way.
All right, we are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com, and what was supposed to be a Monday where I would have probably done coke off of this mic. We're now here just acting like normal professionals, and I don't really like that, to be honest with you, but let's go to the people. We got James on the line. James, you're on the Morning Woodward Show. We'll start with you, my friend. Good morning. How you doing? How do you feel after that loss? You there, James?
Hey, buddy, I'm here. How you doing?
Good, good. How are you?
Yeah, that was good timing. I just called you guys back because I lost you. But, hey, thanks for taking my call anyway.
Yep.
Hey, guys, just want to say the Lions have been the Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde team this year. Everybody knows it. But I think they're not the same old Lions. I think we got to stay with them. Every team has a game like this. Sure, we gave up some records yesterday, but every team goes through this crap, and everyone expected them to make the playoffs, Super Bowl. It's not going to happen. We are very fortunate to be in this position. The Lions have played well enough to win 8 games, maybe 9 this year, which is very impressive, but we just cannot bash them for one game where they looked horrible. It is what it is.
You know, James, I actually agree for the most part because, again, I just have questions this morning more than I have criticism.
Sure.
That was an ass-kicking. I don't think anybody can deny it, but the Lions went on a 6 out of 7 game run where they were winning, and this was a team that afforded themselves an opportunity on Saturday to put themselves into a possible wild card position. So, yes, I can't be mad because I've seen progress, but I just always have questions because which one is it? You said it perfectly, Dr. Jekyll and Hyde. Which one are you? Are you the 1-6 team that just can't show up and find a way to win, or are you the 6-1 team? I'd like to think there's somewhere between the two, but like you said it, man, that was a tough one.
Yeah, it was tough, but that's where I agree with Sam earlier.
You there,
offense
James?
is definitely, it's the 6-1 offense, and we don't want to miss an opportunity in the playoffs, but the defense has to step it up.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you looking at the big picture, James. I tend to agree with you. Discussing performance, but it doesn't discredit what they're building currently. So we're on the same page here.
I'm excited for the future. Guys.
Happy holidays, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Take care.
Same to you guys. Thank you.
Yep. Oh, man. You know what? I don't mind that. No, if you're going to call in today and you want to sit here and argue with me or tell me, you know what, Adam, it was a bad game, but let's move on. Let's not, da-da-da-da-da. That's fine. I actually don't hate that. I actually don't hate it at all. I understand you. I am frustrated for you. And just like you guys are, I'm sure come on, we all wanted them to win on Saturday. Let's not be stupid here. Huh? We all understand how frustrating it can be at times. One of the most important things to me is your progress. They've made progress. And they were bound to lose. You can't win 7, 8, 9 out of 10 games. I mean, that is just very difficult. I get it. But you don't lose like that. You don't lose at your own game against a team that is not as good as you. That's the disappointing part.
Yeah.
Because you're going to open up as 5-point favorites against the Bears? If it was home against Carolina, I would argue you would have been a touchdown favorite. Come on. The one time, let me reverse. Let me go back a little bit, sorry. The first time where under this regime and this head coach, you finally had expectations. And you finally went into a game and you said, you know what? Today matters. Today matters. We matter today. The Detroit Lions matter on December 24th, 2022. We fucking matter. And you go out and do that. Come on.
Yeah.
That to me is what hurts more than anything. You can lose games in the NFL. That's fine. That's fine. I don't mind at all. I'll deal with it. You don't lose that game that way. Let's see who else we have on the phone lines. Flano, if you don't mind, let's throw Kyle on. Kyle, you're on the Morning Woodward Show. What do you got for us, buddy? You there, Kyle?
Yeah, how you doing?
Good. How are you, buddy?
Good. I was just sitting I was just typing on the chat because I didn't know I would get through. But you know what pisses me off more than anything?
Go for
it. Is not just the fact that we could have been ahead of with Seattle losing and the Commanders losing and New York losing, but it's that Green Bay won against the Dolphins.
Oh yeah.
Yesterday, and now like it's gonna. Well, I wouldn't say it'll come down to it, but just the fact that there's always something about Green Bay, like just when you think that they're horrible, this happens, and it would really piss me off if they stole that final playoff spot somehow when it was supposed to be us, in my opinion.
Yeah, it was quite the weekend for Detroit. I mean, you had Green Bay win, and then you had the Rams win as well. So, and then you had the Lions get absolutely decimated. So, wasn't a great weekend for Detroit, but at the same time, to have a performance like that, it's not that they lost. Adam hit on it. It's how they lost. The fact that you got dominated at something you were so good at previous weeks doesn't give fans a lot of encouragement, but you got to. It's all we have left.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll see what happens if Green Bay beats Minnesota next week. Then it's probably going to come down to
it's going to be quite the game.
Yeah,
they're 4-point favorites actually right now against Minnesota. But appreciate you taking the time this morning, Kyle. Happy holidays, buddy.
Yeah, thanks, Kyle.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Merry Christmas. You know, and again, go ahead.
Did I not? We talked about that Green Bay game, and that was my biggest fear. I told you that if it comes down to that Green Bay game, listen, we beat Aaron Rodgers. I don't know how you're confident about that game after what you just saw on Saturday, facing Aaron Rodgers and the Packers. It's not who you play, it's when you play them. We know that.
So, look, we've been doing the show just over a year and a few months. Year and 4 months, okay?
Mm-hmm.
This was the most important game I've seen working at the network. The most important game since 2016. You can talk about the Vikings. You can talk about the Jets. You could talk about Chicago and Green Bay earlier. You can talk about the Giants. You can talk about all these games. But none of them meant you would leapfrog into the playoff seed. None of them. Until this weekend. And again, you had to win those games to earn the right to even have that opportunity. I'm with you guys 100%, by the way. I get it. But that game had meaning. And you showed up and you played the most uninspiring football I've ever seen in my life. You looked lifeless. You were pushed around at the line of scrimmage. That's what you do well. And you got pushed around? It hurts me. Because you're on board. And you know what? To be honest with you, still on board. I'm not going anywhere. Love the talent. Love the direction. But for fuck's sake, that was way too typical of a Lions football team. That you are trying so hard to get rid of. And that you have done a very good job of the last 7-8 weeks. But again, it's always a record-breaking, unheard of way of losing. Against Seattle, you never forced a punt. First time in Seattle history.
Remember last year, Tucker hitting the NFL longest.
But this year,
stuff like
200
that.
plus yards on the ground.
Right.
They set a franchise record for most rushing yards in a game. They have no offensive line. Aquano couldn't stop getting holding calls, and you still couldn't punish him for it.
Wasn't it Bailey Zapp's first start earlier in the year against the Lions? It's
just frustrating because we all know this is one of the 3, 4, at worst 5 best teams in the NFC. Better than Atlanta, better than Arizona, better than the Rams. You want to go to the South? You can go better than Carolina, better than the Saints. You're better than, who's the other team in the South? Not the Buccaneers, the other team. God damn it, Adam. Anyways, moving on. NFC, you go to the NFC East. NFC East is a tricky one.
Yeah.
Dallas, I'll give them
the Falcons were better than.
There you go. Better than the Falcons.
Yeah.
I think you're better than the Giants.
Yeah.
Their record may be better, but your roster is much more complete than they are.
Yeah,
but, you can
make that argument.
Now, the Eagles are better than you, obviously. I think you're better than the Commanders.
Yeah.
You go to the North, you're better than the Bears, you're better than the Packers. But the Packers look like they might make the playoff run.
Yeah.
That is what bothers the hell out of me, is even at this point in a rebuild, quote, a rebuild, you have more talent and you are more complete in many areas than a lot of these teams that are ahead of you, including Carolina yesterday. Or not yesterday, excuse me, Saturday. And you still lost. And you lost the most important game of the year. Now, they can win out right now and still find their way in the playoffs. That is not the argument this morning.
Mm-hmm.
The playoffs are still a real thing here. And that is a great thing. And that's all you asked for going into the year. But that doesn't change the fact that Saturday wasn't a total fucking disappointment.
Right.
And if you aren't willing to acknowledge that, go fuck yourself.
100%. That's the one thing that the Lions could have done that is obviously we're happy with how they've improved. We're happy. We see the talent on this team. We see the rookies showing out. We see the second-year players like turning into stars. We see some of the free agent signings like DJ Chark and Deshaun Elliott playing well. But the one thing you can't do if you're the Lions is just get punked when you're fighting for a playoff spot, when you're fighting for a 10-7 record, when you kind of have the national media's attention finally. They got their manhood taken from them. That's what happens when you get outrushed 320-45. Just a terrible, embarrassing style number. Like Jeff said earlier, though, how we know this team will either be SOL or not is how they respond to the Bears. Leave no doubt in that game. Yeah. But for now, I have a lot more questions after this game than I did coming into this game. I didn't think the Lions were capable of a performance this bad.
Yeah, and Sam, to your point, too, I mean, the biggest thing people talked about with this team currently is their strengths, their offensive line. That's a big reason why. Their defensive line, what they've been able to do against the run. Both of those things, both of the strengths of the Detroit Lions completely got thrown out the window on Saturday. You got dominated at the line of scrimmage offensively. Brian Burns, Derek Barnes, those guys were able to get their hands up, deflect passes, get pressure on Goff, stop the run, completely shut down the run. I believe Jared Goff led the team in rushing.
Yep.
And then defensively, you couldn't stop a nosebleed. I mean, again, and people tend to forget watching this team and how well they've played. They actually have rookies starting at all three levels of their defense. I mean, you have Josh Pascal, Aiden Hutchinson, Malcolm Rodriguez, you have Kirby Joseph, and they have a second-year Iffy starting. At the same time, it's not an excuse, but for a young defense like this to string together great performances, it's difficult. But to play like that is inexcusable. There's no excuse to lose like that. But you sit there and look at the defense, you're like, man, a lot of youth, and they didn't show up to play. So we'll see how they respond at home.
Well, let's take a break. When we get back, Jeff Okudah benched mid-game for Mike Hughes. And it was dead on social media. Nobody acknowledged it. Nobody talked about it. Am I missing something? I thought Jeff Okudah was one of the best corners in the NFL. You know what? I will publicly share my Twitter handle. You guys can all log in, and you can go to my mentions. And you can go search Jeff Okudah and my name on it. Where are you guys? Honestly, I'm very curious. It's been a quiet 7 weeks. I'm waiting. I really am. And it's driving me absolutely fucking nuts. We'll talk about Jeff Okudah coming back. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Swiss Insurance.
Well, with the holiday season here, Swiss Insurance wants to remind you to insure those gifts of jewelry or collectibles because in the last 2 weeks, Swiss Insurance has saved its clients at an average of 26% on their insurance premiums while still increasing coverage. That's a ton of money to free up for the giving season. Happy holidays from Swiss Insurance, and don't forget, go blue.
By now you know me, Christina Gennari, as the obvious choice in real estate. And you know my website, soldchristina.com, as your #1 resource for buying or selling your home. Myself, along with my amazing staff, pride ourselves on making your home buying and selling experience a relaxing and easy one. Come see why we are the obvious choice. Christina Gennari at soldchristina.com, the obvious choice in real estate.
3 NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there.
And that one Lions playoff win in 1991, yeah, Detroit fans were there.
Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
All right, downtown Detroit is all decked out all holiday season with, of course, the return of the Cadillac Lodge and the Monroe Street Midway. The Midway has a giant slide, winter bumper cars, and an indoor arcade. Plus, you can grab drinks at the lodge before and after the games. Shop, eat, and play downtown all winter long, thanks to our good friends over at Bedrock Detroit. We are back here on the Morning Woodward Show, live, woodwardsports.com. And I have been waiting for this segment for 7 fucking weeks. So I am just going to deliver the data. That's it. I'm only going to deliver the data. I'm only going to deliver what I have seen. And you guys fucking tell me what I'm missing. All right, you want to talk about some of the best corners in the NFL? You want to talk to me about, players that, top quality players. We got to talk about Jeff Okudah right now because it's bad. And it's been bad. And I know last week he was sick, right? And that was the excuse last week. And then the 4 weeks prior, there really wasn't an excuse because he was tackling well, but he wasn't covering well. He got exposed by Garrett Wilson again. Shocking. DJ Moore burned him. Terrence Marshall burned him. Everybody burned him yesterday. Didn't matter who. All I want to know this morning, and this is all about you guys, I swear I'm going to zip it. Because I already know the truth. And I've said it from day one, and you have refused to accept it. This kid's, excuse me, I'm backtrack a little bit. This kid, it's not that he's a bust. I don't hold that against Brad Holmes or Dan Campbell or even him. But at pick number 3, he's a bust. Tariq Woolen's having a better year. He's had a better year than Okudah has had his entire career. Sauce Gardner, day 1, already an elite player. The kid at number 3 hasn't worked out. That's it. Acknowledge it. He's a bust. If you don't want to call him a bust, you have, let me see, how do I want to identify you? Here. If you on social media publicly defend Jeff Okudah and you want to say he's not a bust and I'm a mean guy and Adam, you're so mean. How do you talk about players like that? You're a pussy. Because the truth is, he is a bust. And there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to accept it. You know where he ranks right now, according to PFF, in terms of coverage among corners in the NFL? 1 through 100. You guys rank them. Go.
This is for the entirety of the season.
Take your shot.
The whole season.
Take your shot. Cover corner over the entire season.
Say top 50.
Top 50. Okay, I like that answer. Good job. Very good guess, by the way.
I am going to go with 37.
37. Boy, both of you are so fucking dead wrong.
Oh, boy.
Both of you. He's 156th in the NFL right now.
Okay.
156th. All right, let's go to his defensive grade at least. Maybe that'll help, right? Maybe that will alleviate some pressure on Jeff Okudah. Maybe we'll understand more about him. What do you think his overall defensive grade? Because you have to consider tackling, because he's such a good tackler.
He is.
1 through 100, where does he rank?
Oh, God, here we go. I'm gonna say top 50 again.
Top 50
in tackling.
Good guess.
Oh boy.
Flannel Sam.
I'm gonna go with 64.
Excellent guess. Flannel Sam, the closest to the mark. You're both fucking wrong.
Oh boy.
123rd.
probably fell about.
That's your third overall pick that you want to cry like a bitch to me on Twitter and tell me, oh, you can't call him a bust. That's mean. That's what you're defending. The 123rd ranked overall defensive grade corner in the NFL and the 156th overall ranked cover corner in the NFL.
Now,
that's what we are defending this morning.
And I'm going to play devil's advocate. I'm not going to sit here and defend him.
Jesus.
But at the same time, you look at this defense, and it wasn't just Jeff, by the way, that played a terrible game. It was the entire Lions defense. But for Jeff specifically, he's a former number 3 overall pick. We get from where he was drafted, the expectations were too high. He couldn't deliver that. But you have...
He's not even a good corner.
Well,
I'm not even asking for a Pro Bowler.
Hold on. Let's look at the situation he's in right now. Jeff Okudah is supposed to be your number 1 corner.
Yes.
Coming off an Achilles injury.
Yes.
We know he's not Sauce. We know he's not Stingley. We know he's not Woolen.
Okay. Then what is he?
He's somebody that can play.
I can play
but
too.
Not your number 1 corner.
Doesn't mean
I think
I'm
we
good.
can all acknowledge he's not your number 1 corner. That's what he is this year. So, yes, Jeff struggled. He struggled every time we watch him. No, not just this year. He struggled. He showed flashes this year, but the bigger picture to me is you got to get more help in the secondary. You can't rely on Jeff every week to be your number 1 corner.
Jeff.
It ain't going to work out for you.
Jeffrey Iafrate.
It isn't.
Since week 9, this is the team that had the most quarterback pressures in the NFL.
Yeah, the defensive lines played exceptional.
The team that was allowing the fewest rush yards in the NFL per game. The team that was allowing the fewest completion percentage among all defenses in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's...
His support is not the issue here. He is not the issue. The problem is, if we can just all agree he's a bust at number 3.
But what does that do? Everyone knows.
I mean, it means you move on from him when his contract is over. Because you're not re-signing him.
No,
he's not worth $10 million a year.
But they need help in the secondary.
Because that's what you're paying him.
Jeff's not your answer. That's my point.
No, of course
he's not your answer. He's your number 1 corner. He should not be. So it's clearly a position the Lions have to address. We can sit here and talk about Okudah and talk about why he's struggling, but the reality is he's not a number 1 corner.
He struggles in zone. He struggles in man.
Absolutely.
The one thing he can actually do, he couldn't do on Saturday, which was tackle. So what is he? And again, nobody's talked about this for 7 weeks. Ever since the Justin Jefferson game, where DK Metcalf exposed him the following week and said, yeah, he had cover help over the top the whole fucking game with the safety. Ever since that game, when we declared him, he has arrived. Jesus has fucking come down from the heavens. He has arrived. We have our number 1 corner.
No,
it's been nothing since.
He's never been a number 1 corner. That's my point. Like, why are people saying...
I'm not arguing with you, Jeff. I'm arguing with a lot of different people
saying
right now.
He's a number 1 corner. Now, he had the pick 6 against Chicago. He made some plays. He's capable of making plays, but consistently, to your point, he hasn't done it.
He has 2 career interceptions.
He hasn't done it. That's my point. He's not a number 1 corner, and he's a number 1 corner for the Detroit Lions in a bad secondary. So... He's, and I'm not trying to make excuses. The reality is Jeff hasn't played well for the most part. He showed flashes this year, but that's my point. I mean, what are our expectations for Jeff? To be a shutdown corner? It was never mine. I knew what Jeff was. The number 1 thing for me is for Jeff to stay healthy. That's all it is. Stay healthy. He's coming off an Achilles injury. He's not your number 1 corner, and he's in that position this year to be that. So it's been bad. It should be Ermanni Awarrior, but he's played terrible all season.
Let me ask you this.
So now it's Jeff.
Let me ask you this. Do you know an individual that plays in Chicago? 2nd round pick, cornerback.
Jalen Johnson?
No. Kyler Gordon.
Oh, Kyler Gordon this year, yep.
Yeah. Rookie. What'd you think of him?
He's been pretty good all year.
Pretty good?
Yeah.
Solid, right?
Solid.
He has more interceptions this year than Jeff Okudah has in his career.
We can't keep playing that. You can go through a lot of corners. I mean, come on.
I mean, that's my point.
But that's not what point are you making. We know what Jeff is. Like,
do we? Do we? Because I swear to God, if you go public, that is not the message I'm getting.
Is there Sam and Stick?
I'm not arguing with you.
Is anybody saying Jeff Okudah is a shutdown number 1 corner?
That was the talk after the Justin Jefferson game, was it not? Am I missing something?
Did you really believe that? I'll start with you, Sam.
I mean, to be fair, in the Justin Jefferson game, he did an amazing job. Justin Jefferson had one of the worst games of his career the first time they played Justin Jefferson. Obviously, I also think Jeff Okudah did a good job in Week 1 against Devontae Smith, had a great game at Dallas, and had one of the biggest plays of the whole season with that pick 6 at Chicago. Without that play, I don't even think we're talking about the Lions in playoffs right now. But in the past 3 weeks, it hasn't looked very good. The second time they played Justin Jefferson went for over 200 yards. Last week at the Jets, he was getting burned constantly by guys like Garrett Wilson, he was getting abused. And then at Carolina, I was watching that game, it just seemed like Jeff Okudah he was missing tackles left and right. He was absolutely awful. Everyone was awful in that game, but it was really glaring how bad Jeff Okudah is. So if I'm taking a guess, I would say that a lot of those bad PFF numbers have just gotten way worse the last 3 weeks. He has played well at times. Of course he's not a number one corner, but in the stretch where the defense...
I just want us to acknowledge, if we can just do this, I swear I will move on. Because let's remember, we got to give him credit. Let's all go back to that Justin Jefferson game. What was he able to do because he had safety help? He played press. He was at the line of scrimmage. He was insanely physical. It was actually really promising at the time. And since then, it's been nothing. One good data point where you're trying to give hope. You're trying to say, okay, maybe this is the game. Maybe he's finally coming out. And this is what you get. You need not just one corner. You need more. 2, maybe even 3 corners in the offseason. Everybody should go. Now, you want to keep Hughes. You want to keep Jerry Jacobs. He's been a nice story. Keep these guys. I don't mind. But you need a legitimate 1 and at least a decent 2. And whether you're going to spend a first, a second, free agency, I don't know yet. But corner has to be your biggest... Yes. I would say your biggest vulnerability you have as a team right now.
And that was, we knew that week 1 of this season. We knew how bad the secondary was. So they're a bad secondary to nobody's surprise. I mean, really, they're terrible. They've always been terrible. They lost Tracy Walker early in the year. And to me, as much as we could sit here and critique Jeff Okudah, which you're not incorrect with how his career's played out, he struggled. My point is, he's in a position that he should have never been in. Which was a corner coming off an Achilles injury, being your number 1 corner. How many? I think he's played in more games this season than he's played in his last 2 years.
Yes.
So it's his first full season, and he's your number 1 corner. Jeff, go out there and shut receivers down. You asked him to do a job he simply could never do. That's
so
my point.
So he's a bust at number 3 overall.
Who's saying he isn't?
I
would love to find the human being.
You'd be amazed.
I think it's too early to call him a bust just because of injury. I'm giving him a couple year because of injury, but why are we focusing on pass coverage when they just got ruckshawed for over 300 yards rushing? To me, Jeff Okudah, over the past couple games, he looks like he's been sick. He looks like he's been injured. That's why he was in and out of the games at some time a couple games ago. I have a rough time throwing them out right now because we saw flashes, right? You actually saw what you were getting in return if he could keep that up on a consistent basis. But yeah, man, Jeff Okudah had nothing to do with the Lions' loss on Saturday.
Well, he missed a ton of tackles. Right. But beyond the point, it's not so much about the loss on Saturday that we're talking about Jeff Okudah. For me, Stick, this is weeks building up now. I've kept my mouth shut. I've shut it. I've let the season play out. He's had 2, maybe 3 good performances. Again, I know you don't want to label him a bust. That's fair. You can have your own opinion on that. But when we talk about a bust, injuries do count.
Yeah.
Greg Oden when he hit the court, Greg Oden was phenomenal. He couldn't stay healthy. He was injured all the time. Same with Joel Embiid early on. Couldn't stay healthy. But then he finally got right, and he turned out good. So he's the anomaly. That's great. Jeff Okudah, you brought up Devontae Smith earlier in the year, week 1. That lacks so much context because he was only targeted 4 times. Why? Because A.J. Brown was mauling the Lions for $170, and Miles Sanders was running for $120. This isn't a Sauce Gardner situation where the Lions literally avoid one side of the field the entire game. That's not what Jeff is. And I know most of you aren't saying that's what he is. I understand that.
Right.
But the whole point of the conversation is, can we just move on now? Because he's never going to be that, Stick. I think that's where I'm getting at.
I know, but the Lions fan in me knows that if this guy goes to San Francisco, all of a sudden he's the best cornerback in the league, just because he has the defense around him to support him. And that's just me. I just don't want to throw this guy out when you saw talent, like a speck of talent. It's not like he was having a 6-game run.
He was the most talented corner coming out of college.
I think all of us were looking at each other like, okay, Jeff Okudah, number 3 overall pick. Here he is.
Well,
like Brad Holmes getting a free first-rounder out of nowhere. And then it's come back to earth.
And to Stick's point, too, that's how I feel as well. Yes, Jeff struggled at times, but I think it's more about the situation he's in and what you're asking of him.
Because Sauce Gardner literally just played the Lions.
But You're bringing up
and
Sauce.
he had no front seven.
We're talking
Quinton
about
Williams was out, and they didn't target him once because they knew they couldn't.
Adam, you know where you messed up? You're comparing him to Sauce. Like, Sauce is already one of the
That's
better
the number
corners.
3 overall pick, man.
We're not. That's over. He was
then
not.
He's a bust.
I'm not saying
But
he
that's
isn't.
like saying
I'm
Tua's
saying
a bust because Herbert's outperforming him already.
And
what is it?
I said that's like saying Tua's a bust because Herbert's outperforming.
Tua's at least playing at an exceptional level outside of this past weekend.
Okay, all right. We're getting.
Well, no, seriously.
The point I'm making is they're asking him to be a number 1 corner.
So what
to
is he,
Stick's
a 2?
point, if he goes to San Fran, if he goes to anywhere else, are they going to ask him to be the number 1 corner?
Probably not, no.
And he's probably going to play better in that position. He's your number 1 corner. Jeff is not that right now. He is not. So until they address the secondary, we'll figure out what his future holds. But Jeff's not a number 1 corner, and you're asking him to be that all year.
The move is free safety. You're moving to free safety.
He can't play safety.
Let him lay the wood.
I totally disagree with that, by the way.
Oh.
But before we go, just this one point, okay? Yes, Jeff, you're correct. Even if I give you everything. I drafted him number 3.
Trust me, I get it.
Jeff, I'm paying you over $10 million a year.
I get it.
I am paying you to be the number 1. And if you can't be the number 1, you know what that means? You're a bust. At number 3 overall.
I'm not going to argue
If you're
that.
not giving me Jalen Ramsey, Sauce Gardner at the moment, numbers.
Right.
And forget the numbers. If you're not giving me the impact, and all you can do is, he's a very good open field tackler.
It's not good enough for number 3.
That is my problem.
Yeah.
And nobody wants to acknowledge it because we know this team is limited on defense. We know Brad Holmes is about to overhaul it in the offseason.
Right.
We understand that next year there's actually going to be a team you're going to have trouble beating. I think we're all pretty confident where the Lions are going. But when you want to sell me on next year making a decision on are you going to give Jeff Okudah the 5th-year option, yeah, good luck with that one.
Yeah, and again...
And I don't think another corner or better front 7 play is going to change the fact that he continues to get beat in zone, get beat in man. But we got to take a break. When we get back, top of the hour, everything that could have gone wrong went wrong on Saturday and Sunday for the Lions. We'll get into that in just a minute. But before we go, Jeff, I got to tell everybody about Planet Fitness, home of the judgment-free zone. Sign up today, $10 a month. Get your new year started on the right track. $10 a month is all it takes. Your fitness is essential. Sign up today at any local Planet Fitness near you or by visiting them at planetfitness.com.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
All right, we are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. It is the holiday season, and our good friends over at the Monroe Street Midway have got some awesome deals for you. Buckle up for a bumpy ride, go for a spin, and try not to spin out, of course, on the Slick Rink, brought to you by the Rollercade. $5 a session, solo riders. Jeff, look at you sexy son of a gun.
I'm matching the snow.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. Flannel's too short, actually. If you go to his camera, look at him.
It's getting snowed in.
Imagine if it was Fish, though. Fish wouldn't even be taking over the snow.
I love it. Guys, the Monroe Street Midway has everything. Winter bumper cars, putt-putt, Midway arcades, and, of course, they have a ton of food. Food trucks are so popular downtown right now. It is so popping. I'm loving it. Let's get started back on the show. Top of the hour, 9:04. A beautiful Monday morning. I wish it was a Monday where I'd have the shades on and I could smoke my lungs out and I could be swearing up and down, but I can't do that this morning. Unfortunately, the Lions lost on Saturday, and everything that could have gone wrong went wrong.
Yeah.
Now, you could say, Adam, well, New York didn't win, and Seattle didn't win, and the Commanders didn't win. Guys, every team that you needed to lose lost, and you lost. That is the worst thing Because now you have no choice but to win out and hope they lose one of those games. Now, and that's very likely, but who's to say you don't go 1-1?
Right.
You lost all ability to make a mistake. And I would have much rather had that going into Lambeau than Carolina. And I think that's what frustrates me the most is you blew an opportunity that you worked so hard for the last 7 weeks to earn. You earned it. You earned a 7-7 record. You earned that opportunity to play for a playoff spot. And to lose like that, I think to me was just the worst. As you saw Aaron Rodgers go and beat Miami on the road, you saw all the teams in front of you lose a game. Like this was your week, Detroit. This was about you.
Right.
And you couldn't go on the road and keep it a one-possession game? That to me is what hurts the most, is because everything you needed to happen happened, and you didn't show up. And now everything is gone. It's wrong. It's not in your hands anymore. So now, yes, you need to wait on New York and wait on Washington and wait on Seattle and hope for Green Bay instead of saying, all right, let's go beat Chicago. And there are multiple scenarios where even if we lose at Green Bay, we're still in the playoffs. That's done now. You have to go 2-0. And again, you're still in the playoff hunt. Season's not over. This isn't, they lost to Carolina and everything that they did and the progress they made is gone. No. But, man, that game, that was the most important game you've played since 2016. And that's what you put out there. That to me is what hurts the most.
And there's two ways to look at it. I think most Lions fans will look at it the way you're looking at it, or there's the appreciation for the fact that they're in the conversation for the playoffs. They're playing meaningful games in December. And you talk about all that could have went wrong. It did go wrong. I mean, you talk about the running game with DeAndre Swift, 4 carries, 12 yards. Jamal, 7 carries, 11 yards. Jared Goff led your team in rushing, 3 carries for 15 yards. They averaged 2.5 yards on the ground per carry. And then you look at the defense. You look at some of the leading tacklers on this defense, Iffy, Kirby Joseph, and Jeff Okudah. 3 of your secondary players led your team in tackling. That's not good. It's not a good thing. That means guys are getting to the third level of your defense and big plays are happening. And you look at PFF, and I know PFF isn't the end-all, be-all, but you look at some of these grades. The lowest grades on the team defensively is the secondary in terms of tackling. I mean, you had Kirby Joseph, a 34 grade, Jeff Okudah, 31, if he had a 41. There's no excuse for how bad they played. The strengths of this team coming in, and we talked about this all last week, they were top 3 the last 3 games before this Carolina game against the run. They were number 1 in the NFL against the run. They were in front of San Francisco. San Francisco was 2 last 3 games against the run. That goes out the window. This offensive line, they've been able to dominate at the line of scrimmage. And Taylor Decker kind of hinted at this because they talked about why they missed a Pro Bowl. And Taylor Decker said, if we show up to Carolina and don't play well, none of this matters. And boy, he couldn't be even more correct. They didn't show up, and they got dominated offensively. So again, their strengths, the Lions' strengths, and we talked about dominating at the Lions' scrimmage. That is what Dan Campbell's identity is. Physical, tough football. They didn't do any of that. And the secondary, as bad as it was as advertised. They struggled, and the offense couldn't even overcome them. This is kind of like you talked about, is it 6-1 or is it 1-6? At 1-6, you saw the defense. They can't stop the bleeding, and they did that again against Carolina on the road. So they didn't show up to play in the most impactful game. They didn't show up to play.
Flannel, he alludes to it. They couldn't stop anybody.
Oh.
You knew going into that game, all Carolina offered that was really a threat was Chuba Hubbard and Devontae Foreman and their run game. That is it. You knew if Carolina got ahead early, you knew if Carolina could run the ball 35, 40, 42, 44 times, that this would be a game they would have a chance to win.
Yeah, and I thought that they would shut down the run because they had done it to Aaron Jones. They had done it to Saquon Barkley. I mean, they had shut down some of the best running backs in the NFL, Dalvin Cook as well. And one of the sort of trademarks of their 6-1 stretch was the fact that their defense had vastly improved. They were dominant at times against the run. They obviously were the complete opposite at Carolina, and that's one of the things that's absolutely the biggest reason they lost is because they couldn't stop the run. But the other thing is, one of the other sort of trademarks of their 6-1 stretch was they won the turnover battle. They didn't make sort of the game-killing mistakes. They let other teams make the game-killing mistakes, but when the Lions had a chance to go up 14-7, they fumbled Jared Goff and Frank Rhino had that bad exchange at the Carolina Panthers 9-yard line, and then the rest is basically history. The Carolina went right down and scored, and it was pretty much over from there. So it was definitely a bad day. It was a missed opportunity, but I'm gonna try to be a little bit more positive, because even though the fact that the Giants lost, the Commanders lost, the Seahawks lost, if the Lions would have won that game, they would have been in the 7th seed today. But the fact that all of those teams did lose, the Lions have set themselves up for a situation where if they win the next 2, they'll most likely be in the playoffs. So on the one hand, they missed a golden opportunity, but on the other hand, it is far from over, where before the game, I might have said that if they did lose that game, it was over. It most certainly is not. The Lions still are in a great position. They just cannot play like that ever again. I don't want to see it this year. I don't want to see it next year. I don't want to see it anytime within the next 10 years. It was a disaster, a disgrace, but it is something that they can overcome. That's the true test of this team.
And Sam, too, you look at how this defense, again, creating turnovers, what they've done against the run, because we know how bad this defense is in terms of giving up yards. You look at the last 8 games during the stretch we've talked about, they've gave up 400 yards, not including the Carolina game where they gave up almost 600 total yards. But we're talking total yards. Over the last 8 games, they gave up 400 4 times. So remember the Green Bay game? Well, they beat Aaron Rodgers, but it was always Chicago. This defense has given up yards in multiple games, but the difference was it was the defense, specifically the front 7, stopping the run, slowing down the run, and creating turnovers. And they were playing from ahead with the offense. So both those things didn't go well. And like Dan Campbell said, 3 levels of this team, special teams, defense, offense, they played well together. The offense would score, defense would get a stop. It seemed like when the offense, they made a mistake, the defense wasn't there to save them. You fumble, you need the defense, they go down, they score, and then the offense couldn't get a rhythm. I mean, you're down a score at that point, and the rest is history. The defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. So
the Lions, I believe,
they didn't play complementary football. That's really what you saw.
I believe, I could be wrong, I believe during the 7-game stretch where they were 6-1, the Lions had only given up 7 points. Actually, I'm incorrect. The Lions in that 7-game stretch had given up 0 points off of turnovers. They gave up a lot of points to Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was a disaster game from start to finish. It wasn't good, but they still have a chance to make the playoffs. I think that is what is nice to have a conversation about later in the week. But the truth is, how do you actually expect this team to deliver something meaningful when it's so Jekyll and Hyde? Again, I asked the question Friday, which team are you? Are you the 6-1 Lions that look like you can put all 3 phases of the game together, that are unpredictable, can play from ahead, run the ball well, throw the ball super effectively with Jared Goff, play decent enough defense to win games? Or are you the 1-6 Lions that put up a bunch of garbage numbers and couldn't stop really a nosebleed? They were the 1-6 Lions on Saturday, and that's unfortunate because, like I said earlier in the show, that was the most important game you've played since 2016. I don't want to hear about the Jets. I don't want to hear about the Packers game, the Giants game earlier. I don't care about any of those games. Those games, yes, put you in an opportunity or put you in a position, to have an opportunity at getting in, yes. But on the road, against a team that you are better than, you get blown out by 14 points. It's unacceptable, man. That is the worst possible outcome, and nobody saw it. Maybe if you were a pessimist, you had the Lions winning 19-17, 20-17, 24-21. If you were a pessimist, nobody would have called a 14-point blowout for Carolina.
No.
Disappointing.
No. Especially coming off winning their last 3 road games. You did not expect that performance. Yeah, disappointing would be the word.
Well, speaking of things that are disappointing, Jameson Williams activated, shown flashes, and somehow, someway can't make it on the field, and that's beyond me. So, what the hell's going on? He continues to be useless, limited snaps, not on the field. Chemistry issues, coaching issues,
yeah, I was gonna say.
Injury issues. I don't know. Is it time to be concerned? We'll talk about that coming up in just a bit, but before we go, I got to tell you where you need to have your lunch this morning, and that's at the Lobster Truck, brought to you by our good friends over at Cousins Maine Lobster. What are you waiting for? Scan the QR code on your screen right now, cousinsmainelobster.com. What you waiting for, huh? Try out their main roll, the lobster tacos, or my favorite, the clam chowder soup. It is the go-to soup, especially when it's cold as hell like it is outside right now. I'm sure all of you that are outside are enjoying your time at the moment. But we'll be right back with some Lions talk. We'll see you in just a second.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
As chilly weather approaches, Big Boy's got the perfect comfort meals for you. Try our hearty classic meatloaf or our creamy Cajun chicken Alfredo. These will be sure to leave you craving for more. How about breakfast? Our stuffed potato pancakes are back with our lumberjack, blockbuster, and Santa Fe Garden. These potato pancakes will definitely fill you up. Whether it's for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, come stock up on the perfect comfort meal today. We'll see you soon at Big Boy.
My name is Lee. I've lost 35 pounds on the Custom Health Center program. So the three biggest benefits that I've gotten from this program has been I'm not snoring anymore, I have a lot of energy, it's great, and oh, by the way, look at this. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding.
Call us at 844-789-THIN or visit CustomHealthCenters.com for a free consultation and get started for as little as $5 a day.
We are the network for Detroit by Detroiters. Welcome to the Woodward Sports Network.
Right, the official meat supplier of the Woodward Sports Network. No, it's not Stick. No, it's not Fish. It is Flannel Sam this morning who gets the honors. And it's the butchery, of course. And it's all inspired by the great Chef Dave. Artisan breads, Wagyu meats, sandwiches to die for. You name it, he's got it. What are you waiting for? Order online at thebutcherysl.com or by giving him a call at 248-682-COWS. That is 248-682-COWS. Check out the butchery and Chef Dave. He'll take care of you for any event you may have. We are back here on the Morning Woodward Show, 9/17, Monday morning, the day after Christmas. What could have been a wonderful, what could have been a spectacle, what could have been even me, dare I say, doing coke off of this mic.
Oh, gosh.
It is no longer the case, unfortunately. And we're just here doing a normal show, which I don't mind either way, but I do like the exotic ones more. But we got a problem. We have a problem. Jameson Williams can't seem to see the field. I don't understand why. When you make that decision to activate him, you are saying you're ready, you're healthy, let's get going. Let's give you a 2, 3, 4 game run going into your sophomore year where we expect you to be a 16, 17 game guy, 1,300 yards, right? And what do you get? You get a wide open touchdown against Minnesota. You get a little tease and everybody's excited. It's fantastic. And then what? Huh? Nothing. Nothing. A few targets here and there. Dude can't even get on the field. And I am confused. Not because I'm concerned with the pick or his talents. No, that's not an issue. But when you make that decision, he's got to play. Mm-hmm. He needs reps. He needs to get hit. He needs to run routes. And look, maybe Chicago is the place. And maybe because of the field conditions. Maybe because of the cold. I don't know. Nobody's told me this. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe due to all of those reasons, he couldn't see the field on Saturday. Maybe. But you can't protect him forever. This dude needs to get on the field. And he needs to show why you took him over a Jordan Davis. He needs to show you that, hey, next year, watch out, because you got 2 1,000-yard receivers in Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jameson Williams. You know what we've seen so far? Nothing. One flash against Minnesota.
Yeah, I would say you saw a flash.
Wow.
when they got him involved.
Jeff Okudah's giving you a flash. Remember, it was DeAndre Hopkins' interception against Kyler Murray all those years ago. I'm just saying. Wait, no.
Don't even.
The point is, I'm not comparing.
Okay, good.
Listen, let me finish. The point is, everybody can show a flash. But when did Amon-Ra St. Brown jump off your screen?
The second half.
Because he showed flashes early on in the year, remember? He had a few of those games where it was like 4 for 58, and you're like, why don't we give this guy the ball more? And then he'd go 4 games with only 2 catches. But then they got rid of Anthony Lynn. They started to target him more, and it's like, holy shit, we got somebody here. You got to target this kid. You got to give him opportunities. And if he's not healthy, 1, that's a problem, and 2, why the hell did you activate him? That's where I'm at this morning, Jeff.
It's tough because J-Mo, in the small sample size we have, you saw, or you've seen the flash. You saw the big play he made against Minnesota. You saw what he could be. And I get people were concerned, and it's not even about Goff to me. Can Goff hit him? No, I've seen Goff hit Chark multiple times. And it took, honestly, most of the season for them to develop that chemistry. He's missed a majority of the season for DJ Chark. But for J-Mo, I'm not concerned. I do want him to get more involved. I mean, you look at the wide receiver core, and you brought up Amon-Ra. Last year, Amon-Ra, they needed him to step up, and he was a good enough player to be utilized, but at the same time, the wide receiver core was pretty much drained. This year, you have Chark, you have Reynolds, you have Amon-Ra. They have guys they trust, they want to keep utilizing. That's fine. But don't tell me you can't get J-Mo involved at some point instead of just throwing him down the field. That there's more. J-Mo brings more of a skill than just being a deep threat. With his speed, you have to be able to utilize that.
He wasn't a deep threat at Alabama. And before you all freak out and say, oh, what is he talking about? This guy's crazy. This guy was most deadly. Yes, of course he could run the deep routes.
Get him the football.
You get him the ball early on screens. You get him in underneath patterns, play action. Jameson Williams is one of the most fantastic yards after catch receivers we've seen come out of the draft in a long time.
Get him the ball in space.
This is not a one-trick pony stick where we're sending him down the field. I'm not understanding.
You see what the Dolphins did with Waddle on that 84-yard touchdown yesterday? That is how you use Jameson Williams.
Absolutely. And Tua criticized. Can't throw the ball downfield. Look how it's working out.
I don't need Goff to throw the fucking ball downfield, just like I don't need Tua to.
Yes, and this is honestly...
I'll scheme my receivers open, throw them the damn ball 10 to 15 yards down the field, and let them do the work.
And I'm going to say it. Ben Johnson deserves... I don't know if it's Ben or Dan. Somebody deserves some of this criticism. I mean, don't tell me you can't utilize J-Mo. And it's tough because... You brought up Jeff. The difference is J-Mo plays a position where he is dependent on the football. You can't say, well, J-Mo...
Well, he's not even on the field. That's the problem.
And when he is, he's not utilized at all. So to your point, to say and stick, you mentioned this before the break, during the break, someone said that he's a bust. Or he's trending in that direction.
In the post-game comments, Anson and I were doing the post-game on Saturday, and a couple people, and I think it's even on the after chat, you have your live chat, and then you have the post afterwards, and you can go read it now. People are saying Jameson Williams is a bust. And at first, I'm like, that is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, this guy, but then I start thinking about it. Okay, he's 3 games in. I'm not calling him a bust, but we're starting to have the conversation, and that's where I don't ever want to be with Jameson Williams. But we're 3 games in. If he was healthy coming into the season, and it was the first 3 games of the season, and he had these statistics, we'd all be like, "What's going on with this Jameson guy?"
But the problem
I think he'll be fine, but
I don't think
they're giving him tools.
I don't think you can have that conversation because he's not even on the field. And again, I don't know where to be concerned. Is it his health? Is it because they felt like the field was cement, to quote Jared Goff yesterday, it was cement. They didn't want to run him out there. I don't know. But he's not even getting on the field. This to me is more than a Jameson Williams problem because I like to believe, maybe I'm naive, that if, let's even say against Chicago, you're going to play a game against Chicago this Sunday. Mm-hmm. And I expect him to get 4, 5, 6 targets.
I do as well.
And I bet you any money, if you throw him a wide receiver screen or you get him in a second and short, play action underneath route, he's probably taking 30, 40, 50 yards. Just a hunch. When are you going to utilize him like you utilize Amon-Ra? We talk about Ben Johnson all the time. He's exceptional. When are you going to use this guy? Again, is he hurt? Is he not right? Because there's no excuse.
We're not calling him a bust. Those were comments by people in the chat on WoodwardSports.com.
Oh, no. That's not the conversation.
If you call J-Mo a bust, you're a complete idiot. That's how I feel about it. Don't tell me that. And Sam, I want your thoughts on this. Because we talked about Tom Kennedy. We've talked about him a lot. Don't tell me This Lions offense can utilize guys like Tom Kennedy or Khalif Raymond.
Yep.
And you're going to sit here and tell me that Goff can't hit J-Mo. J-Mo's a bust, this and that. No, you're an idiot. J-Mo isn't the issue. It's the coaching staff for not utilizing J-Mo. You got to utilize him. You see the talent. If you want to protect him, that's fine. And for the people that made that argument, well, if this was the first 3 games of the season, no, if it was and he played at the beginning of the season, he'd be healthy. There wouldn't be any resistance to not play J-Mo. The fact that he's coming off an ACL, maybe there's a little bit of that resistance. But, Sam, don't tell me you can utilize Tom Kennedy and Khalif Raymond, and you can't utilize Jameson Williams.
There's only 2 reasons why J-Mo's not on the field right now. Number 1, he's not understanding the playbook. Number 2, he's injured. Those are the only 2. You can't convince me otherwise.
I mean, it is kind of baffling that they haven't found a way to use Jameson Williams, because coming out of college, to me, he was arguably the single most explosive college wide receiver I've ever seen. He was just a Ferrari, and when the Lions drafted him, I was practically doing backflips. I thought, this is the guy that can take this offense to the next level. Obviously, he started the year hurt, but now he's been active for 4 games. In the first game against Jacksonville, he was kind of more of a decoy. He caught that 41-yard touchdown against Minnesota, and in the last 2 road games, he's done nothing. In 4 games, 1 catch for 41 yards. That's not great. And whether it's him or underutilization, I don't know what it is.
Either he's not getting the playbook flannel, or he's hurt. That's it. Nobody's going to convince me otherwise.
But if he's
it's one of the 2.
But if he's
sick, it can't be.
Yeah.
There's no logical explanation for your first-round pick who has been activated to not see the field. Either he's hurt or he's really not understanding the playbook. And you guys know where I'm going to lean on that one. Mm-hmm. And I think we're all going to lean on it too.
As bad as it sounds, you're hoping that he just tweaks something or something like that, not that he can't comprehend the playbook. Yeah. You can recover from an injury. You can't recover from stupidity.
I think he's fine. I mean, the coaching staff has been raving about J-Mo. I mean, I don't think this is about J-Mo. I think it's more about utilizing J-Mo. And again, if he tweaks something, that's another story. But in terms of utilizing him, they didn't do that. They only did it once against Minnesota, and he made a big play. Was wide open. Goff made the throw. It was a little short, but he connected with him. Moving forward, that's the thing I'm watching, is how do you utilize J-Mo? I mean, wide receiver screens, slants. Just get him the ball.
Play him like a normal wide receiver.
There you go. Hard. I mean, come on. Get the guy the ball in space.
The guy is not Deshaun Jackson, where you're only going to send him on a go route 4 times a game.
Right.
Like, come on.
Yeah.
So either he's hurt or he's not getting the playbook. We'll take a break. When we get back, Dan Campbell, Steve Wilkes. That was quite the post-game shaking of hands, whatever the hell you want to call it. That was interesting. We'll get to the end of the game. I think one of the craziest things to me is that, again, you talk about an interim coach, a team that had traded away their star player, had no business being in even the playoff hunt, and here they are, only a game behind you now. And they're a half game, I believe, out on their division, or a full game, excuse me, and then they play Tampa Bay this week. So the division title is coming down to this week anyways for Carolina. So we got a lot to talk about. When we get back, more Panthers, Dan Campbell talk, Steve Wilkes. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at the Sports Marketing Agency.
The Sports Marketing Agency helps spread awareness about mental health and substance abuse. Their new podcast, This is the S Word, helps fight the stigma about seeking help. If you or someone you know is struggling, head to thesportsma.com for more information.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
Introducing the Planet Fitness Guide to getting that post-workout glow. Step 1. What's your why? More epic energy? Better sleep? Blow off steam? Step 2. Join Planet Fitness for just $10 a month and get moving in our clean and spacious clubs. Step 3. Bask in that post-workout glow. Join Planet Fitness today for just $10 a month.
Join today at any of the 50-plus Detroit area locations.
When it comes to making your haircut truly an experience, there's no better place than Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. Come to any one of our 26 Metro Detroit locations for an award-winning haircut experience and qualify for a chance to win a down payment for your dream home up to $200,000. Our precision haircut and talented stylists will have you looking good, feeling good, and give you a chance to change your life forever. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome.
Get a shot up. This is for the win. All of Detroit's sports teams live on Woodward. All of Detroit's sports coverage lives on Woodward Sports. Driving the best in Detroit sports coverage.
Jeff Iafrate here. Let me tell you about our friends at the Fulling Warehouse in Hamtramck, home of the original football bowling game, 2 to play for $12, or you can pay $120 and get an open play for you and 9 other individuals. Check it out. They have the $2 mystery beer machine, full bar. Check it all out. Fulling Warehouse, Hamtramck.
All right, 9:30 in the morning, a beautiful Monday morning, unless you're outside and it's cold as shit. We're back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com, as always, Monday through Friday, 8 to 10 a.m. Detroit lost at their own game on Saturday, which to me is the biggest story of the game.
Absolutely.
You lost at the line of scrimmage, something you've dominated, both sides of the ball, for the last 7-8 weeks. Going into that game, you were the number 1 team since week 9 in total pressures. Think about that. Your Detroit Lions front 7, first in the NFL, better than the Niners, better than the Eagles, better than a lot of these teams, better than the Cowboys. You had the most pressure since week 9. And that wasn't a 3-4 week sample. That is a 6, 7, 8 week sample that you were number 1. You had allowed the fewest, or the lowest, completion percentage among defenses in the NFL since that time span. So much trending in your way. Everything was going in your way. Everything. The teams you needed to lose, lost. The games that needed to be played were played. You won the games you had to win. Go to New York on the road. You win that game. You are legitimately in the playoff hunt. You have it in your hands. It's here for you to hold. And you lose 37-23 to a team that is in a full rebuild, with an interim head coach, with a short-temper owner, with a GM that will likely lose his job, with Sam Darnold, who sees ghosts at quarterback, with an offensive line that is one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, a rookie tackle that has accounted for the most penalties by a rookie tackle in the NFL in Okudah, by a team that is one-dimensional on the offensive side of the ball, and then offensively, a top 5 offense, one of the best scoring offenses, effective on 3rd down, effective on 4th down. It doesn't matter, you name it, they're good at it. Mm-hmm. And Taylor Decker gets beat multiple times by Brian Burns. The offensive line can't get any push, and they can't establish the run game. And then you're asking Jared Goff to drop back 30-plus times, and the game was already over by then.
Right.
It is so disappointing. Not because you lost. It's okay to lose in the NFL. Nobody wins every game. The way you lost and the meaning behind the game is what kills me. For the first time, you had a meaningful, God-forsaken football game being played with your Detroit Lions. And as 2.5-point, 3-point favorites in some books, you walk out and get killed by 14. I'm trying really hard to buy. I want to buy. I love what Brad Holmes is doing. Love the draft capital they've established. Love some of the draft picks they've had. I understand this will be one of the better rosters for years to come, given the direction they're going in. Having said that, there is no excuse to play like that on the road against that team. Now, you go to the Niners, you go to San Fran, you go to Philly late in the year. All right, I can live with that. Carolina, your season was in your hands. You win that game, you vault into the playoff picture. You have full control. You actually, if you win that game, only need to win one of your next 2 games. Coming up as 5-point favorites against Chicago. You have room for error, and you let it go. And that is what drives me nuts. Because at the time where you needed your team and your coaches to all be ready, they weren't. None of them were. Not Dan Campbell, not Ben Johnson, not Aaron Glenn. None of the players offensively or defensively. Nobody was ready. And that blows my mind that a coach can come out after the game, not just Dan, any coach, and say, that's on me. Didn't have the players ready to go, man. How? What the fuck are you doing all week, huh? How? It's the NFL. You are paid to play on Sunday, in this case Saturday. How are you not up for a game? How are you not up for the biggest game of your fucking franchise's history since what, 2016?
Mm-hmm.
How are you not up for a road game against a team that has been struggling? A team with an interim head coach. A team with no quarterback. A team with no offensive line. And you get pushed around and bullied? And you get manhandled at your own game? So disappointing, Jeff.
Yeah, they didn't execute. I think that was the big thing. I mean, you can prepare all week and get in the right mindset, but they didn't show up physically. They didn't show up mentally. They just looked completely checked out on both sides. And again, it was really the fumble, and whether it was Frank Ragnow or Jared Goff, whatever it may be, that sucked the momentum out of the entirety of the game. I mean, you have a chance to go up, you cut the defense down, you drive all the way down the field, and then you turn the ball over. And not just that, which they haven't done. The offense has been really good at taking care of the ball. They turn the ball over, but then the defense doesn't bail them out. You allow the Carolina Panthers to go down the field and score. I think they went 90 yards twice, that's inexcusable. I mean, I talked about you can't give this offense a short field. Who cares? Give them a full field. They still scored twice. So they didn't show up to play. Whether I get Dan takes blame as he should. He's the head coach. I'm not going to sit here and completely destroy Dan. I think it was more about this defense, a young defense, not showing up to play. The Carolina Panthers, they understood what was at stake. I'm sure the Lions did as well. They knew what was on the rise with the playoffs and what was at stake. They didn't execute. Carolina wanted it more, and it played out that way. They won by 14 points. But all that being said, Adam, no matter how bad this defense is, to see them lose that bad, and again, at their own game, Jared Goff leading the team in rushing, they couldn't get anything going on the ground. They couldn't protect Goff, which they've done really well over the last couple weeks. Everything that could have went wrong, Sam Flannel.
I mean, it was the worst defensive performance of the season, and that includes the game where they gave up 48 to Seattle, 41 offensive points, and never forced them to punt. This was worse. I think I could have played running back and got 4.5 yards per carry in the last game with some of the holes that the bad Carolina Panthers offensive line was opening up, and I think my 40 time is like 6'5". I could have ran through those holes. I mean, that's the thing. It didn't matter who they were playing at running back, whether it be Deontay Foreman, Chuba Hubbard, Raheem Blackshear, and even Sam Darnold. They were getting yards. They were getting touchdowns. It was in a game where the Lions could have gone over 500. When, now that we look back, a game that they could have been in a playoff position on Christmas morning. It could have been one of the happiest Christmases for all Lions fans in many, many years, and they blew a golden opportunity. I mean, like I said before, though, the big measure of this team is how they respond, because they can't let that one loss turn into two. Mm-hmm. They gotta be up for the game against Chicago. But it definitely is. It's alarming that they got punked, they got bullied. Carolina obviously wanted it more, and I don't usually I think that's a little bit played out of a saying, but yesterday it was true. The Carolina Panthers wanted that game more. They took the Lions' manhood. The Lions kind of puckered. They got punched in the mouth and never recovered, and it was so disappointing because in that big run, the Lions actually showed that grit that they were preaching during Hard Knocks. The defense was improved. The offensive line was bullying other teams. They were often the bully. And in this game, it was just insane how soft they look, how they made the freaking Carolina Panthers look like one of the best running teams in NFL history, look like those Broncos teams where they could put anyone at running back and they'd get 1,000 yards. It was a disgraceful performance in so many levels, and it was just so disappointing.
You know what's worse? Sam Darnold posted a passer rating of 120. You know when's the last time he did that?
Did he ever do that?
Week 11.
Oh, I was going to say week 1 against the Lions is rookie year.
No. Week 11, 2019, the Green Bay Packers.
I mean, but that's the thing, though. You wanted Sam Darnold to have to beat us because I don't think Sam Darnold can win a game and play an effective game when the running game doesn't give him support. But you could have put me at quarterback. I can hand the ball off to
He completed passes for 47 yards, 36 yards, 43 yards, 18, 17, 12, and 12.
I understand that he played well as the game went on. He made a couple of huge throws, including that deep ball to DJ Moore. But the thing is, the Panthers, did they even pass the ball once on their opening drive to go up 7-0? I don't think they did. It was started...
No, 0 passes on that first drive.
0 passes on that first drive. That's what you can't have happen. That was the one thing that as Lions fans, we should have been concerned about. Lions fans.
Sam, how are you going to force Sam Darnold to make errors when he's handing the ball off? I mean,
they made Sam Darnold look like a competent quarterback, and that's the one thing. Hey, the Lions have done it twice. Like I said, maybe the two worst Lions losses in the last 5 years have come to Sam Darnold quarterback teams. That's a statistical anomaly unlike anything I've ever seen. It was just a terrible, terrible, terrible performance. But after all that negativity, I want to just put it out there that not all is lost. But man, to go above 500, to show the world, to just keep that streak going, keep the Lions as like the national media darlings, keep them in the playoff position, that didn't happen. And now they got to play pretty much flawless football the rest of the season.
Can I just bring up, like, I love you guys, and I love everybody in the WoodwardSports.com chat. Love everybody that's a part of the pre and post games. When the Lions were 6-1, it was Dan Campbell's king of the world. Jamal Williams should be in the Pro Bowl. Like, we were going nuts. Now it's Jameson Williams a bust. Dan Campbell doesn't know how to coach. They shouldn't resign Jamal Williams. Is everybody like kind of over panicking today? Because
absolutely,
yes, they got punched square in the mouth, and if they get punched square in the mouth next week, I'll be concerned. But I'm hoping this is just a one-off anomaly on the road thing. But are you guys thinking this is what we saw last week? Is that the real Lions team?
I
or
don't
is that
know.
what's scaring you? You don't know.
I don't know. That's the fucking problem.
Yeah.
Because Friday I said 1-6, 6-1. Which one is it? You have 3 games to figure it out. Which one are you? Now, I like to think, realistically, Stick, especially this year, given the talent they have, given the season, that they're somewhere between those two. I don't think they're as bad as 1-6. I don't think they're as good as 6-1. So they're somewhere between that. So you have 3 games to tell me which one you are more of. And again, I don't. It's not that Dan Campbell can't coach. It's not that Jameson Williams is a bust. I think that's all just people kind of upset and frustrated in the moment.
Absolutely.
But to me, the biggest problem is that was the game, Stick. That was it. That was your season. You would have vaulted into head coach of the year, Nick Sirianni, and the Eagles lost. You would have vaulted him. You would have had one of the Cinderella stories of all time. And for that game, you didn't show up.
But is that a good thing? That's the question, right?
No, that's never a good thing. And I know it's easy to look forward and say, because we all see the 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, salary cap space. I get it. It's easy to say next year, maybe this is a good loss that they learn from, and next year they're a playoff team.
That's why next week I'll know if this was something I'm panicking about, or if this is a carryover for the rest of the season.
I'm glad you said that, because that was the first point I made when you weren't here. Alex was TDing, but my real question for the SOL people is, how do they respond this week against Chicago? I think if you go out and you take care of business and do it, decisively, then I do think this team. I think people saying, "Well, this is SOL." I get that loss has reminds you of SOL type performances. But to discredit everything they've done after that performance is it's a lazy take.
Can we all, let's take a break. We'll get back. I want everybody in this room to acknowledge 3 things. And if we can't all agree on these 3 things, we're fucked. Okay? So we'll take a break. When we get back, I'm going to try to get all 4 of us on the same page. If I can't, I give up. But before I go, I got to tell you about my good friends over at Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men. They always take care of me. They always take care of my beard, and they always make sure I'm looking great for the show. Check them out. Open 10 to 8, 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Their amazing stylists will take care of you like they take care of me. So what are you waiting for? Lady Jane's. It's wicked awesome.
Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
The Sports Marketing Agency would not be who we are without great community partners like Higuera Health and Carol Zuniga.
It's an awesome opportunity to partner with your organization. Higuera Health is a comprehensive behavioral health organization. We serve children through older adults with mental health, substance use, and developmental disabilities across Western Wayne counties, and really excited to now be in downriver communities as well. Give us a call at 734-458-4601.
You don't have to go to the beach, man. You don't have to get your butt crack full of sand. You just need a little chili peppers, man, to get that glowing beach chili peppers tan. Woo!
With 26 locations in the Metro Detroit area and more coming, Chili Peppers Tanning is where you'll find the cleanest salons in the D. Join the Pepper Club for the best deals on unlimited tanning. Head to chilipepperstanning.com.
You just need a little chili peppers, man.
Can't get enough Woodward Sports content? Head over to woodwardsports.com right now for up-to-date sports articles and great entertainment news. We have the best writers, bloggers, and coverage all at your fingertips. Head to woodwardsports.com right now to experience all Woodward Sports has to offer.
All right, let me tell you about my good friend Michael Phillips. Whether you're a player or a fan looking to buy or sell your home, even looking to refinance, well, Michael Phillips is your go-to guy. He helped take care of me and my wife when we bought our first home. He'll help you and your family. 313-403-0011 is the number. What are you waiting for? Give him a call. Let him help you navigate through a very hectic market. That's 313-403-0011. We are back. The Morning Woodward Show, 9:45. We got 6 minutes before we get to Mailbag. And if we can't agree on these 3 things, honestly, I don't know what to do.
Okay.
I haven't really thought this through yet. I was hoping we'd all agree. Number 1, can we all agree Jameson Williams is nothing, or Jameson Williams, excuse me, back up, Adam, slow down. Jamal Williams is nothing more than a goal line back. Can we all agree on this?
Yeah, he's a complimentary.
He's a goal line back, literally that is it. Fair or not fair?
I think it's slightly unfair because he could end up having an 1,000-yard season. I know it's behind that offensive line, but I think he's been a little bit more valuable than that. He's kind of been that hammer back earlier on that can get those 3-4 yards.
He's averaging 3.8 yards a carry.
And that's not good.
He's behind this offensive line.
Again, talking about players that shouldn't be in a position they're in, I think Jamal being your RB1 is the issue. He should be your second back.
And Swift not getting enough carries, I'm not sure what the hell's going on there.
Yeah, he's been ineffective.
Maybe he just doesn't have it.
Yeah, maybe you're right, Flano. Again, but Jamal Williams is going to be available this offseason.
Right.
They better not pay him. I don't care about his 15 touchdowns. I don't give a damn. My mother could line up at fullback and run behind this offensive line at the goal line. I'm not taking away from his season. The point I'm trying to tell you is you're not going to pay this guy to be your RB1, let alone even your RB2. It's not worth it unless it's a very discounted price.
I was going to say, well,
the only way you keep him for his leadership and his goal line ability, I don't mind.
Right.
Don't go out there and overspend, number 1. Number 2, can we all agree that the first 4 picks of the NFL draft should be on defense? I think that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah.
Anybody disagree? Anybody in the quarterback camp? Anybody here? No?
Yeah, especially how that Rams pick's trending. Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement. You're probably drafting another edge, an interior lineman, a corner, and another corner, actually. And Brad Holmes has done this for 2 consecutive drafts. Draft 1, what did he do? Penei Sewell. And then it was Levi Onwuzurike. But who did he draft after Levi? He doubled down. What did he do, guys?
Lee
McNeil. Drafted 2 defensive tackles. Yep. Then what? Next year. 2022.
Josh Pascal in the second round.
Aiden Hutchinson in the first. Brad Holmes loves to double dip at certain positions, and they're typically at very important positions. So I look at the secondary being awful. I look at the interior line being awful. I look at the edge still needing some support. I don't want to give out names now, but would a Miles Murphy, Joey Porter not make sense along with a second-round corner, a second-round interior or edge?
Maybe a linebacker.
To me, that makes sense.
Jesus.
And what people forget is a lot of what you see in the NFL nowadays, especially with hybrid defenses, I don't need Aiden lining up on the edge every single down. See, I can have a front 4 with Aleem and Aiden on the interior with Houston and an edge rusher on the edge. You can switch things up. You need depth to be able to do that, of course. Right. And they need to be good players. But I think we all agree, you're going all defense this draft. And really, that's what Brad Holmes has been kind of not been doing great at. Most of his draft picks, I believe, have been on the defensive side of the ball. I want to say more than 70%.
Yeah.
Malcolm Rodriguez, that's whatever.
It's probably, if you
Derek Barnes,
if you want to say hits, real hits, it's probably
the
Kirby,
real hits
Aiden.
have all come on the offensive side of the ball. The legitimate hits, outside of Aiden Hutchinson, who's the number 2 overall
and Kirby,
pick. Kirby's been nice.
Showed flashes.
We'll see. But we're talking St. Brown, you don't question, right?
No.
Right.
Offensive side of the ball. So you're going to have to address the defense. And the third thing, which I'm praying we can all agree, and this is coming from me, shockingly. I think this team is heading in the right direction, regardless of the loss. That doesn't change my mind that they haven't established something. Now, how good it can be, what the ceiling is, I still don't know. And Saturday would have done a lot more good than it would bad had they won. They didn't have much to lose outside of really cementing themselves as, hey, we're here. We're not playing around here. You guys thought we were 1-6? No, that wasn't right. This is the team we are. Oh man, 8-7, playoff spot. Chicago, Green Bay, they win one of the two. They're in. I think we all agree they're still going in the right direction, but they need a lot of help. They got to answer a lot of questions, Stick, Flannel, and Jeff. Head coach needs to answer a lot of questions. Quarterback play needs to answer a lot of questions. Can it be consistent on the road? Can you not turn the ball over on the road? And look, you're going to make mistakes. We all know this is the NFL now. You throw 600 times a year as a quarterback now. Back in the day, you throw 430 times and people would think, man, that is a crazy offense. You're throwing almost double the amount.
Yeah, you're putting up Troy Aikman numbers.
So turnovers are going to happen. How you respond, of course, is the key. But this defense needs a lot of help. But I think we all agree they're still going in the right direction. Fair?
Yes.
They just have a lot of questions to answer, though.
Yeah, they have a lot of
holes. Are you
holes.
1-6 or 6-1? That's the key one for me.
They have a lot of holes to fill as a roster. I think that's clear as day over the entire season, not just them winning 6 of 7, now 6 of 8. A lot of things they got to address. I mean, that's how I feel. That's how I still feel after even watching Carolina.
Stick, positive direction. I think we can agree, no? Still going in the right direction.
The Lions?
Yeah.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, it doesn't discount anything.
That's what I tried to convey on the post game too. Like, even though I was pissed off, and even though somebody came in and just smacked them upside the head, you try to put some perspective on it, right? Just like I wasn't panicking when they were 1-6, and I wasn't jumping off the bridge saying they're going to win the Super Bowl at 6-1. They're somewhere in between, and
you just don't know how far in between. Are they more good than
process.
bad?
It's a growth process, and we're in the middle of the growth process. And as long as we're seeing that process in action, it's going to come with some high highs, and it's going to come with some low lows. I just don't want to see the low lows repeated week to week, and that's why I will flip out next week if Chicago comes into Detroit and manhandles and does that. Then I'll be like, all right, now we got some issues. But if it's a one-off, and it's like, okay, now they're back on track. Maybe they got a little cocky. Maybe they got a little full of themselves. Maybe they walked off the bus thinking now this stuff's going to start to be given to us. And Calvin Shepard tried to address that last week. He said anybody who thinks that the Lions are out of the woods after 50 years because they got 6 out of 7 wins, you're foolish. There's so much more to take out of this team and to excavate out of your past. So I don't know, but winning sometimes gives you that little bravado. Sometimes you start thinking a little better of yourself. Maybe you're cutting some corners in practice. And unfortunately, it came to bite the Lions in the ass. And that's on Dan Campbell. You got to convince your team, you're not good yet. We're good right now, but we're not sustainably good. So don't walk in here with a losing team and think that you're just going to run Rexhaw over them. It's not going to happen. You need to put forth your best effort like this is the damn Super Bowl.
And two things before we go to break. One, I love the big picture, how Stick looks. I think that's how all Lions fans should look at it. You were 1-6. Now you're 7-8. You're almost 500. And I picked this team to go 8-9. You picked 7 wins. So they're on track. Now, with new information, Sam, you know this best.
Yep.
You're allowed to change your opinion.
Absolutely.
And the new information I was presented is they were in the playoff race. So I get those expectations. People are frustrated, but they still got a lot of work to do, and people should still have confidence for what they're building.
Fair enough. Let's take a break. When we get back, get all of your questions in the chat. Jeff, myself, Flannel, and Stick will answer them coming up in just a minute. But before we go, Jeff, our good friends over at Cintron.
Well, Cintron is the official energy drink of the Red Wings, and Cintron has combined all 3 of their delicious flavors into a limited edition 6-pack sampler box. You can try Cintron's great tasting cranberry, classic, and sugar-free all in one pack. Pre-order your Cintron 6-pack sampler box today at CintronWorld.com/Red Wings. Get energized with Cintron.
I love Love Woodward Sports? Love wearing clothes? Then you should be wearing Woodward Sports clothes. Check out our full line of merch at woodwardsports.com. Just click on Shop. We have all your favorite designs, like Dan Campbell kneecaps, Beverly Hills Golf, Woodward Golf, and of course, our own logoed out merchandise. Men, women, infants, kids all love Woodward Sports. Impress your friends. Impress your boss. Impress your dog. Buy Woodward Sports merch today.
What's a winter wonderland if you can't shop, eat, and play? Lucky for you, you can do it all at the Downtown Detroit Markets, Cadillac Lodge, and the new winter version of the Monroe Street Midway, all located just across the street from Campus Martius Park. Find the fun at deckedoutdetroit.com.
Hi, I'm John from Better Rate Mortgage, and to me, family is more than blood. That's why I have the biggest family in Metro Detroit. If you're looking to buy a house or refinance and need a loan, come get treated better than family by me and our entire team here at Better Rate Mortgage. We pride ourselves on giving you better advice, better service, and a better loan experience. That's why we are Better Rate. If you're looking for a new mortgage, come get treated like family. Actually, better with Better Rate Mortgage. Visit us at mybetterrate.com or call at 248-480-4467 today.
3 NBA championships. Detroit fans were there. 11 Stanley Cups. Detroit fans were there. 4 World Series wins. Detroit fans were there.
And that one Lions playoff win in 1991, yeah, Detroit fans were there.
Woodward Sports, where the fans are.
Jeff Iafrate here. Let me tell you about our friends at Alta, because at Alta, uptime matters. Alta Equipment has everything you need to get the job done. If you have a big project coming up, Alta Rent has you covered. Call them today, 844-GO-TO-ALTA. That's 844-GO-TO-ALTA today.
All right, we are back here on the Morning Woodward Show live, woodwardsports.com. Let's get to your questions in the chat. We'll start with who? Who do we want to start with today? We'll start with Man Bearpit. Where's Fish? Did Santa work his elves overtime this year? Fish is 1, not an elf, and 2, Fish is actually dead. I killed him. So we don't have to worry about Fish anymore. Flannel Sam, welcome to the show, buddy.
Fish is enjoying vacation.
Vacation, that's
as Fish deserves, because that man, he grinds. But no,
it's
Adam
Fish's
did not.
first vacation in 2 years. Fish has been working here for over 2 years, and Flannel Sam was floored that he took a day off.
I know, I'm happy to have Flannel Sam. When I saw Sam, I was like, wow, Fish took a day off? No, Adam did not fire Fish. He took a day off.
Unfortunately, I did not fire Fish. That would have been that would make me happy. Steve asks, why would you guys think that the Lions are in the right direction if they don't make the playoffs? Because, Steve, it's very simple. They started 1-6. It wasn't a fair reflection of how good they were offensively, but I guess fair of how bad they were defensively. The coach couldn't get out of his own way. Right. Then they somehow strung along 6 of 7, and they got to 500. So now you're asking yourself, well, which one is it? You'd like to believe it's something in between the two, whether it's a 4 of 7 or a 3 of 7. Who knows? You're trying to figure that out at the moment. They have a lot of young talent. The roster's not going anywhere. It's only going to get better. You have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. That's why they're going in the right direction, because you know next year, for a fact, if this team does not contend for the division, your coach should be fired. It's that simple.
Yeah.
If they cannot contend with Minnesota next year, there's a problem here. Because you will have enough talent. You will be young. You will have fresh legs. You'll have a roster that has gotten better and better year over year over year. You'll still have the great offensive line. Hopefully you draft a running back and you have a better run game that's not, injured all season. So you have a lot to address, sure. You have holes, sure. So do a lot of teams.
Right.
Carolina has a lot of holes. They beat your ass yesterday.
They did.
Or Saturday, excuse me. You want to talk about playoff teams that have holes? Dallas has holes. The Vikings have holes. The Buccaneers have holes. The Giants are a rebuilding roster in the playoffs at the moment. So is Washington. They all have holes. You are not the only team with problems or injuries or, oh my God, shut the fuck up.
Look at this question, too. Shout out to Jesse, by the way, for remembering this. Mailbag, if this team wins next week, how nervous are you the following week going to Green Bay? Let's tip our cap to Jeff Iafrate. He called it, saying it's coming down to that Green Bay game.
Yes. Convenient you read that one.
Very convenient, Jeff.
Let's tip our cap to Jeff.
I mean, why wouldn't I read that one?
Of course. Damn straight I'm going to read it.
Well, since we're doing this, I identify as handsome and smart.
Stick, I want to go to you because you're the hardcore Detroit Lions fan, but you also... I could have a conversation with you, especially that Green Bay game. Were you, because people have talked to me, don't fear Aaron Rodgers. You're going to Green Bay. You whooped their ass. Am I wrong? And last week I said this, to fear that game at all? Or are you gonna...
No, I mean, listen, if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it, right? So if you're not afraid of going into Lambeau, then you obviously haven't been watching the Lions for the past 50 years. I just despise Aaron Rodgers, that cocky bastard. Did you see him in his post-game interview talk about, well, we got a couple dome teams coming up to Lambeau next, and it's like, yeah, okay. He keeps, like, throwing shade at the line, like subtweeting the Lions almost.
That's the thing. He can. And I don't blame him. If I was a narcissist, I'd do the same shit.
Oh, dude, it's so narcissistic. Like he's done something this year. Yeah. Oh, my God. Here's the best comment from the WoodwardSport.com chat. QB Michael says, at least we ain't talking draft officially. And that should make everybody feel good. It's going to be January, and we haven't even discussed draft.
Stick, me and Adam sat up here last year when last season ended, or it was earlier this year, technically. And what did we discuss? Our expectations for year 2. It was to contend for
play meaningful
the
games in December.
And play meaningful games in December.
We're playing meaningful games in January.
And they're doing that. So I can't sit here and say,
again, they've made progress this year. That cannot be denied.
No.
But you can't tell me that next year this isn't going to be a team that won't be good enough, won't be capable enough of contending not only in the NFC North, but being a team that for sure should at least get a wild card spot at worst next year.
Absolutely.
And if you don't believe that, we got some major problems. That's it for us today, though. Thank you guys so much for joining. Big D Energy coming up at 11 o'clock. Ermanni and Edwards at 2. The heavyweights at 5. Check them all out. Enjoy the rest of your day. If you're at home today, federally recognized holiday, enjoy. Watch Woodward Sports. Go to woodwardsports.com for all the latest news, breaking news, articles, you name it. We got it. We're out of here. Happy holidays. Hope you all had a great Christmas. God damn it, the Lions. You can't just let us enjoy it one time.
No hookah today.
Once. I was ready to do coke off this mic. Anyways, have a great rest of your Monday. We're out of here. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
The draft experience was shitty.
My high school dating experience was shitty.
I can tell you all 16 receivers and where they went to college.
I can tell you every girl that put me in the friend zone, every girl that shot me down, what grade it was, and what she said to me. Sarah Williams, freshman year at a house party, says, quote, I want to be single. Got a boyfriend the next day. Beth Samuel, junior year, I got benched during a football game. Afterwards, she came up to me and said, I want to date a starter. Kelsey McFarland, 10th grade, I took her to dinner, paid for dinner, and she told me I was the best guy friend
I've ever had.
Rachel Fletcher, took her to a party with my friend. She said, I like you,
but I like your friend better.
That was in 12th grade. Emily Westfall, senior year, I asked her to go to prom with me. She said, quote, sorry, I already have a date. She didn't even go to prom. Tanya Allen, Heather Talbert, Lindsey Turner, Leslie Frazier. It's okay, though, because now, here I am, working at Woodward Sports. They all got fat after high school, and the only thing I want back are my hoodies.